Hello and welcome to another episode of Earth911's Sustainability in Your Ear, the podcast conversation with a changemaker working to accelerate the transition to a sustainable, carbon-neutral society. I'm your host, Mitch Ratcliffe. You know, reuse is the best way to minimize the environmental impact of the products that we buy. But connecting with people who want what you have, especially people near you, so that it's not necessary to ship something thousands of miles to be used, is difficult. And if you don't want to sell something because you may use it again, you may want to rent it to earn some extra income when it's sitting on the shelf. Our guest today is Jürgen Pretsch, founder of SHÄP, a recently launched rental marketplace that focuses on connecting people with items to rent in local communities, currently focusing on metropolitan areas where there is a higher likelihood of finding a match for the products people want to rent. They try to eliminate the shipping footprint by bringing together neighbors. Secondhand clothing company ThredUp and market research firm Global Data reported in 2021 that the secondhand clothing industry is growing 11 times faster than retail and could be worth $84 billion by 2030. And that's just clothing. But the reuse rental market has been challenging for companies, as many of our previous guests in this business have explained. Bringing the transaction cost down to the local level, which has worked for tool and car sharing startups, for example, can also dramatically reduce shipping emissions while fostering local community. In fact, the members of the marketplace on SHÄP also deliver the goods they rent. That may be a limiting factor for some who don't want to handle the day-to-day management of their stuff, but it can also forge lasting relationships between members and with SHÄP as a valued connector. You can learn more about SHÄP, which is spelled S-H-A with an umlaut, P, at www.shap.market. SHÄP is S-A-P with no umlaut on the URL. So shap.market is where you go. Welcome to the show, Jürgen. How are you doing today?
I'm pretty well. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you. Thanks. It's always good to get up early and talk to you. I want to start off by asking you, reuse stores, tool sharing programs, clothing rental and resale companies have all carved out niches. SHÄP seems to be sort of like a department store, a place for everything that you could reuse and rent and otherwise. What motivated you to say that was a direction you wanted to go?
That's actually a pretty long story and one pretty close to my own history. I've lived as a nomad, a digital nomad for many years now, and as a nomad, you encounter some very particular problems, but you also do encounter in different cultures very particular solutions. And the idea behind SHÄP came together on a little island on the Bahamas, one of the family islands, which is really, to be honest, a somewhat poor area when it comes to cash. People don't earn too much money, but they still live really, really good lives and really happy lives. And I have the privilege to be part of this community now. It's my self-chosen home, if you want. And the one thing that stood out to me there is that communities still work. People rely on each other, they rely on their neighbors, they rely on their friends, on their community. And it's hard to order things there. There is no Amazon delivery. There is no USPS or UPS or anything. So you share everything you get. Somebody might have a lawnmower. Somebody might have a PlayStation, if you're really lucky. Somebody might have the suit that your son might need or something like this. So you rely on this. You have a WhatsApp group, you have a Facebook group, and you just ask people the question, hey, do you have this or do you have that? And this is how the idea behind SHÄP, a Rent Anything marketplace, was born. That's what we want to bring back to the more urban areas in the world. And why don't we have a smaller niche? It's a very good question and a very tough one, because we do believe it's about the user experience. Mm-hmm. You do not want to be registered at 10 different marketplaces because today you want a PlayStation, tomorrow you want a camera, and 3 days later you want to rent a dress or a suit or whatever it is. That's not convenient for you. And we do believe if we want to make a sustainable change, we want to have an impact, we need to make it easy and enjoyable for people. And easy and enjoyable is what SHÄP is about. We had this slogan very early on, it's sustainable hedonism, because we do believe if we give people the chance to do the right thing and make it easy for them, make it even fun for them, then they will do the right thing. So this is the idea behind SHÄP, and as I said, it's close to my own story. So I'm glad you asked.
You're launching in Manhattan. Are you launching anywhere else early on?
No, we're really starting here in Manhattan for a very technical and business-like reason, to be honest. As a marketplace, you need density. That's right. The most important thing. So you need to make sure that there is a lot of supply close to where the demand is, and where do you have higher density than here in Manhattan? At the same time, one thing, Manhattan is also one of the places that I like to frequent as a nomad. It's one of the places I like to be at right now. You do have a sense of community. And I do think that it's very rare in most urban areas that you really still have this sense of a neighborhood, of a community, of believing in the block you live in and being close to your neighbors. So we also thought, if there is one fertile ground on this planet where this idea of a community-based marketplace can work and will work early on, it's Manhattan. And it's making our lives easier, of course, to start at a place where we know the conditions are right so that we can demonstrate it works and then take it from there.
And when you think about taking it from there, where do you think about taking it? Is it major metros in the U.S. to begin with? Have you thought about Europe and other locales?
Yes and no. We will do a hyper-localized rollout. That means we will be going from metropolitan area to metropolitan area. Our roadmap has Los Angeles on the West Coast and San Francisco as the next steps for us. It also has the Miami-Dade area, because those areas are just very dense. That's easy for us. However, we do plan, of course, to get bigger than this. This is just, the early stage where we can still control what's happening and where we can still have really good oversight. From there, we do plan to go to Europe, because I do think Europe, where I'm from originally, is a place where SHÄP will really work very well. We will there also start in more metropolitan areas. Metropolitan also for a very green reason. We do not want SHÄP to be something where you say, okay, I want to rent this camera equipment for 2 days, so I'm going to jump into my pickup truck and drive 200 miles down the road just to pick it up, and 2 days later I drive back. That's not green anymore. And this is a problem we don't yet have a solution for. So for the more rural areas, for the really rural areas, we're still waiting a bit also until electric vehicles are a little bit more common, until we have logistics solutions figured out in a better way. We're still at a super early stage, so we are in early conversations with local logistics partners. But right now, we do believe that it's also about connections. So you go 5 blocks down the road, you meet your neighbor there, you exchange the goods, and you bring it back. So you're not only helping the planet, but you're also really meeting someone in your community without having a huge commute.
Now, what is the user experience? What can a new member expect? How do they sign up? How do they share what they have to rent? And you just talked a little about delivery and pickup, but how do they collect payment if, in fact, there's a payment involved?
Yeah, let me walk you through it. I mean, it's honestly quite simple. It's a typical app. So you sign up either with your email address or through one of the social media login channels. So like you use your Facebook account or your Instagram account to sign up. Once you're signed up, you fill out your profile. It's the typical things. What's your name? You can upload a picture of yourself. And then you go to upload the things that you want to rent out if you're so inclined. So you might say, hey, this hat I'm wearing today, I want to rent it out to my fellow neighbors because I might earn a little bit of passive income this way. So this is the experience for the one renting out. If you just say, I want to look around, I want to browse, I want to rent something, it's even easier. You just fill out your profile, go to the search bar and say, what do I feel like renting? What do you feel like renting today, Mitch?
A back brace, because I'm having a bad back day.
Okay, so you enter this, that you want to rent a back brace, and you will be provided, hopefully, with quite a few offers. The user experience is, I'm sure you've heard of this quite unknown little app called Tinder, where you swipe left or right. So we want to offer a similar experience. So you are being presented with the first back brace, and you say, no, I don't like this one because it's bright neon pink and some of it doesn't go with the rest of my outfit.
Okay, so you're gathering some preferences too in order to better shape.
We do. We do. Exactly, because we really want to provide you with what you need. I think this is why apps like Netflix are so popular, because they're able to really deliver to you what you personally want and learn your taste. So let's say you found finally the right back brace for yourself. You say, this is the one, you click on it, say, I want to have it. Then you get in touch with the one renting it out, figure out if the price works for both of you, and then meet up somewhere in your neighborhood and exchange the goods. The payment is done through the app. We have a Stripe implementation to make it as easy as possible for our for our users at this early stage. So no cash involved. Everything is safe. We are making sure that, we're doing the KYC right. We're doing everything to protect your privacy. We're doing everything to protect you as a user, really, because we do know you are meeting actual people, right? So you're going out there, you're meeting people. So we want to make sure that you're really safe. And that also ties into the user experience in the app, meaning at the time when you are meeting your fellow SHÄPer, you both will be uploading pictures of the goods and of yourself with a selfie and an ID to make sure that you are really the person you are saying you are.
This is way back when I was on the founding board of directors of Match.com for the first 3.5 years. And so one of the big challenges was that confidentiality. It wasn't a desire for anonymity, obviously, because people wanted to meet. But on the other hand, they wanted to get some insight into who they were going to be meeting. In particular, women didn't sign up until they could talk about the men for free, right? Is that guy a creep? How do you, is there a reputational score or any kind of personality information you can say, I may or may not get along with this person?
Yes, exactly. There is a review system, of course, meaning there is social credit if you want. So you can see the person to whom I'm renting out my back brace. Is this guy really in need of a back brace? Did you already ruin 5 other back braces? Right. And both parties, of course, have the right to say, no, I do not want to do this transaction. So if you're renting out your Rolex and you see the picture of the guy to whom you're renting it out is him carrying a big sledgehammer, smashing 3 other watches, you might be inclined to say, no, I think I'm not going to rent it out this time. So we're really focusing actually around this area of safety and security that ties into the insurance solutions, of course, but also in protecting the people who are actually meeting up.
Now, how does SHÄP make revenue itself? How do you support your business?
It's commission-based, really. So we take a certain percentage of each transaction. There is a formula behind this. It depends on the duration of the renting period. It takes on the category in which the good falls. And of course, on how short term it is. So there's a convenience fee. If you say I need the back within the next 15 minutes, fees tend to be a little bit higher than if you say I need it 3 days later down the road. So we are very lucky these days because while there are no other really successful rent anything marketplaces out there, we are, of course, as a business trying to learn from other rent marketplaces. And I will throw some big names here into the room. Turo for cars, Airbnb for places to stay. So we are in a very lucky situation that many other businesses already made a lot of mistakes and found a lot of really, really good solutions. And this is, of course, a learning opportunity. I can only imagine how hard it must have been, as you say, in Match.com in the early days when you were the one who had to come up with every solution for everything, really.
It in fact, was the first 3-sided market. And we learned a lot, and boy, did it hurt. But it made it. The thing is, consumers are not used to thinking their stuff, all the things on their shelf in the closet, in the garage, in the kitchen as asset. How do you foresee people changing their relationship to consumption when they think about the things they buy, not only as what they use, but what they might also monetize?
This is actually what our whole marketing campaign is focused around. It's about financial independence. It's about financial freedom. And I like to introduce new SHÄPers to it by saying, when I say the term asset, you're thinking of millionaires, right? Who have helicopters, who have mansions, who have all this fancy stuff, who have jewelry worth more than you will ever earn in your whole life. But you do not think of assets and think, hey, I got this thing standing here on my shelf. You just think that's just stuff I have, but it doesn't earn me money. And we do strongly believe we're in the middle of a financial crisis or at the beginning of a financial crisis. This is up for others to debate. And I see everywhere I go, when I go shopping somewhere, go through a city, I see all these advertisements for buy now, pay later. There was an article even on the news, I think 2 or 3 days back, that people have to use buy now, pay later models to do groceries. And honestly, that's heartbreaking. To do groceries, you have to do buy now, pay later. It just doesn't work. And I think in this light, in this environment, showing people that they have the chance to first earn passive income, which is something most never considered, and at the same time to suddenly have the opportunity to use the fun things that they would like to use without having to break the bank. I do think as soon as people realize that they can actively save money or even earn money like this and have a more fun lifestyle, then it's pretty cool, because I have many discussions here with the people in my neighborhood. Even they ask them, can you afford a Gucci suit? Can you afford all the nice stuff from Armani and so on to buy it? And say, no, obviously not. But that's the thing. With SHÄP, you can rent it for a while and have a good time, and the money stays in your neighborhood. So I do think that we will be finding here fertile ground in this environment, and hopefully, I really do believe in this, will make the world a slightly better place, not just a little bit greener, because of course it reduces waste to not buy everything, but to just rent it out, but also give back freedom to people in the time when they really need it. So our early marketing is a little bit crass. It's a little bit about, cut off your credit card and rather keep the money in your community, because that's what we believe is the solution to many of the problems.
Well, that kind of hyper-local thinking is, I believe, the path out of the environment that we're in, which we're shipping both goods and services halfway around the world and emitting all of the CO2 and other greenhouse gases that are associated with doing that. So this is really inspiring. I want to take more time and talk about it, but first we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. We're back to continue the conversation with SHÄP founder Jürgen Pretsch. SHÄP is a reuse and rental marketplace. One of the other things that you mentioned on the site is that you're thinking about lending. How would lending work financially for you? I mean, do you then get a commission based on some value of the thing loaned?
Yes, and that's the idea behind it. So let's say you're renting out an item to your fellow neighbors, to your fellow community, and we're getting a commission based on this.
Rather than a rental, you mentioned, rather than renting, you mentioned lending. Are you also going to do non-financial transactions? And if so, how do you support that?
Not at the moment, of course, because for the early launch, we just did not implement it. But this is something we have for further down the road. It's part of our social mission to have this included. But as I said, it's the pre-launch that we had it for now. So we're trying to limit the things we can do, because I think if you have too many things that you're trying to offer in the super early stage, you might fail, because you just cannot keep everything under control. So we're trying to now really start with the core functions of SHÄP, with the core business model of SHÄP, to show what works and then to improve on this and then to roll out the additional things.
Now, one of the things with my experience with three-sided markets, they really thrive when they create ancillary economic opportunities. And for example, eBay created an entire industry of people who handled the marketing, shipping, and other services associated with selling for people who didn't want to. How is SHÄP thinking about supporting the growth of local businesses in the sharing economy?
Well, actually, in a very similar way, because we do need these partners. And when it comes to partners, or the third side of the marketplace, it's of course quite obvious, everything involving logistics. So we already implemented the function to have other people, professionals, handle the items you want to rent out. Okay. We are in touch with storage units in the area to reutilize them as pickup points, because also one thing that, especially here in New York City, you often notice, all these storage units are completely overcrowded because people's apartments are not as big as they might like them to be. So you say, okay, for the next half a year, I'm not going to need my bicycle, and I'm not going to need this item and this item. I'm going to put it in a storage unit. We are in early contact with the owners and managers of the storage unit to offer a solution for this, and to say, okay, you want to bring this to the storage and have it rented out in the meantime. The storage unit management can handle all the transactions for you. You don't have to do anything, and you earn money completely passively, because you just don't need to do anything. You bring it to the storage unit for half a year, and if somebody wants to rent it, you get money. And this is part of it. Of course, there's also laundry services that are involved in the whole thing, because rent anything implies there's also, clothing being rented out. It's actually what our early research shows, one of the most interesting parts of the marketplace for many of our potential clients. And here, local laundry is an important partner. Also, we're trying to involve local shops in the whole thing. I'm not talking about the big chains here. I'm not talking about the big names. I'm really talking about the mom and pop shops to say, okay, we barely have a website. We don't have any digital presence. We are not really active on this community websites and so on. But we do want to offer something to the community and become an important part of it. So we are actually at the moment literally running from shop to shop in our area here in Manhattan and Harlem to approach shop owners and discuss with them if they want to become a part of SHÄP. So
how do you pitch that? How do you pitch that? Because for instance, in the case of Amazon, returns, Kohl's, the department store, has basically survived on the fact people would come there to return Amazon items, but make an impulse purchase. Is that the pitch to a local shop that you're considering?
Our pitch is somewhat easy without giving away the whole story of it. Of course, we try to tell them what the idea behind SHÄP is. And with the local shops, I notice one thing: the owners are usually an active part of the community. They live in the community. They often live, within one block of this shop that they're having. So they're very much inclined to say, hey, everything that helps the community and shows to the community that we are really pillars of the community is helpful. At the same time, we have quite a few shops already saying, hey, you know what? I might even like to be a pickup point. Mm-hmm. I might even like to handle the transactions of other people because my staff is here all day anyway. I'm paying them. And if this helps, let's do it like this, So you say, okay, I only have time early in the morning. I bring the item I'm renting out there. And sometime in the afternoon, my client, my partner, comes to pick it up. So this, I think this ties also into the question you asked me earlier about the three-sided marketplace, because shops here will take a very crucial role to it. Because on the one hand, some of them are really willing and excited to rent out some of their own merchandise because they say, hey, we got stuff we are not selling or will not sell within the next 12 months, but we might be able to rent it out, and they want to be part of the community. So this is where we are. But again, this is the small mom and pop shops. This is not the big chains.
Yeah, so that's interesting, though. The idea that inventory might become rental inventory suggests that SHÄP can become the infrastructure for a generalized sharing economy.
That's what we're hoping for.
Where you're going. I see. Okay. Now I see where you're going. Okay. That's really interesting. Now, this brings us back to where can you launch and how big does the community need to be a little bit. Let's say I'm in a community and I think, well, I'd like to be a SHÄP provider, a store where that kind of stuff. Can they call you and make an argument to open the service in that region? And so what criteria would you apply in that case to say it's big enough?
That's a two-sided question as far as I'm concerned, because we have two stages. We have now what I still call the pre-launch. Right now, we don't have the capacity to do rollouts outside of the area we are super focused on because it just would be too many resources involved. It's an early stage startups. You cannot just say, hey, this town and so on. And this will be true, I think, for the next half a year, where we will really stick to the plan of a few select metropolitan areas. However, as soon as we have enough experience to see what works and what does not work, we will be rolling out to smaller areas. And we do have a pretty long list of areas where we do want to start. Some of them are pretty rural, but where we, from our initial research, have seen there is demand there and there is the right supply there. And this is some small places like Nashville. It's coincidence that they rhyme, really. But where we noticed a lot of young urban people with a very, I would say, green mindset, with a very sustainable mindset, and with a lot of interest in the sharing economy. Or take Austin, Texas, which is not necessarily a metropolitan area, but still somewhat on the bigger side. This is also now a to-go list for the sooner future. However, I also know that there are some really small towns where people are interested in that. I'm talking about towns with 500 people or 2,000 people living there. And this is a place where we want to be in the future, but I do not see it happening within the next 1 or 1.5 years because it's a capacity problem.
So let's change this subject to, just a little bit. Now, how are you going to manage your own environmental footprint? Because, of course, a lot of what we're talking about here will not be within your direct control. You've mentioned we want to partner with EV owning companies to do transportation. But are you starting off from the beginning, measuring your own scope 1 and 2 emissions so that you can say that the organization is either carbon neutral or on a path to being carbon neutral?
Yes, this has been on our to-do list from the beginning on. That comes back to our cloud hosting service that's going fully carbon neutral with the either end of this year, beginning of next year, where we are hosting. This is still somewhat early now. It is somewhat easy at this early stage, and we are actively looking into solutions here for the future. However, I do think we will not be fully carbon neutral when it comes to the whole environment, because there are people involved. And even here in Manhattan, let's say you take one part of Manhattan, you take the Upper West Side, it to me is logical that you would just go to the pickup point because it's just a few blocks, maybe half a mile. However, I also know that we cannot prevent somebody from taking an Uber and driving that. So we do not recommend it, but there's also no way for us to really monitor what's happening on this side. We are actively looking for partners like EV-focused companies for logistics, but we do know as soon as individuals are involved in the whole thing, we cannot control it. The same thing will be as we roll out in bigger areas. Take Los Angeles, which is a really, really big place. It can be that somebody from the northern part of LA wants to go down every second day to Venice to rent out a different dress. So this is a challenge we're facing. And right now we cannot control this. And I'm also not sure we should control it, because I do think sometimes it's better to reduce something on an overall level than to put in restrictions and say you can only rent it out within a half-mile radius or something like this.
Right.
Because if you start implementing this, you cannot measure it, because maybe this person is working down in Venice and is going there anywhere every day. So we're trying to reduce, to educate, and to nudge people to do the right thing. There will be some programs in place where we really say, hey, the closer from home, from your home base, you're renting it, you get a better rate to make it a bit more attractive to stay in your community. But I, for example, do not want to say, hey, there's a cutoff, you're only allowed to rent within a 2-mile radius, because that ties back to what I said earlier. We need to make it fun and comfortable and convenient for people to use the platform.
Well, and informative. So have you thought about using the app and offering not just tracking everybody, but offering people the ability to say, if you turn on this form of tracking, we can tell you about the carbon footprint of your loaning and renting?
Exactly this. This is something we're working on actively. It's not yet ready because it's a quite complicated tool to build, but we do want to have this like a calculator app included in SHÄP, where we're saying, okay, by having rented out this item and this item and this item, you reduced so much in emissions and so much in waste and so on. This is, however, still somewhat complicated due to the wide variety of goods that we're offering.
Sure.
And because for many, many products, you do not get very specific information about the emissions involved and so on. So this is still something we're working on. But as I said earlier, it's a lot about education, and education on the one side about financial freedom, but also about sustainability. We do want to give people the power to do the right thing. That's what I believe in, because if you give people the power to do the right thing and give them a tool that works, that's not in their way, but it makes their life easier. I do believe in the good in people, if you want. I do believe that people, if given the chance, they will do the right thing, at least the majority of them. And that's what we are about.
And of course, you could build a loyalty program about the lowest carbon footprint and do compensation based on that. That's really interesting, and a lot to think about there. What are your goals for the company over the first year in the market? What will you call success in October 2023?
In October 2023, I mean, as a startup, I should probably say if we're still around. That's a general answer, but that's not what we are thinking about. Success, I would call that we have an active marketplace going on that's really alive in at least 3 metropolitan areas, and that we will have enough data to really showcase how much of the environmental footprint we can reduce. Because this is a data thing. Now at the super early stage, I can give you our vision about those things, But I hope that 1 year from now, I will be able to tell you, Mitch, there's so and so much going on. This is what's happening. This is what we were able to improve. So having those metrics ready within a year for 3 metropolitan areas, this would be the main goal we have. And honestly, really, I want amazing user feedback. And I want to see that what we are doing is not just great business opportunity, which I think it is for a million reasons, right, but also that we're building a community of people who believe in a better world. And this is what I would call success, to see an active and open community, active social media, and a lot of transactions, of course.
So how can a listener who's interested get started on SHÄP today?
Go to SHÄP.market, look at the stuff we have there, follow us on our social media. If you're in one of the lucky few who lives in the area where we're starting, you can start right away. If you're not, please be a part of our movement. Follow what we're doing. We're trying to come to your community as soon as we reasonably can. But again, we need to do it in a sustainable way. And I do believe in sustainable growth, and that means doing things in the right way. And it's sometimes a little bit slower than you would like to, because honestly, I would love to do a rollout worldwide within the next 2 weeks. I mean, if you would ask me what I'm dreaming of, it's to do the rollout within the next 2 weeks worldwide. And because I do think it's a market that's relevant more or less worldwide. However, I'm afraid it's not going to work. So please follow us, follow the movement, learn the things we're doing, and even feel free, if SHÄP is not in your area yet, go ahead and go to your next door neighbor and ask them if they have the blender that you urgently need before you go out and buy it and use your credit card and do a buy now, pay later. So take the spirit that SHÄP is, even if SHÄP is not in your area yet, and live it, because that's what we are trying to do.
Well, Jürgen, that's a great way to close this conversation. I wish you all the luck in the world. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us. Thanks for the amazing questions, and a big hello to our audience.
We've been speaking with Jürgen Pretsch. He's the founder of SHÄP. SHÄP is spelled S-H-A with an umlaut P. And you can learn more about SHÄP at www.shap.market, shop.market. You know, this is an intriguing startup with the potential to support the recreation of local community, because when people solve problems together, they build respect and develop a sense of the value that their neighbors provide to themselves and to the community. As Jürgen said at the end of the discussion, you don't have to wait for SHÄP to practice reuse. So when you next think about heading to the store or ordering something on Amazon, instead, try walking to your neighbor's house and asking if they have what you need. Maybe you can borrow it or offer to rent it, and you can offer to provide something in return that they may need in the future. But the important thing is you'll be talking, and that's the basis for restoration of local and global communities. When we connect, good things happen. This is Earth911 Sustainability in Your Ear, and we're available on all your favorite podcast sources, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, and elsewhere. Please take a moment to share this podcast or any of the shows in our library with family, friends, coworkers, everyone. Let's get more ideas out in the world to create less waste after we've talked them through. We'll be back with another innovator interview soon. In the meantime, folks, take care of yourself, take care of one another, and let's all take care of this beautiful planet of ours. Have a green day.